I'm Mark Mallory. Coming up tonight on News 6 at 6, we'll have the latest on downtown Duluth's Technology Village and a lawsuit that may put the project on hold. And we'll have the latest as a Boy Scout volunteer is arrested for possession of crack cocaine. Join us tonight for News 6 at 6.
There's a major new pollution problem on the St. Louis River, and experts are trying to figure out how to clean it up.
You've heard about it for years. The Farmer's Almanac is here, and the forecast is relying on pig spleens. What's that all about? Plus, the cheerleaders are yelling, and the crowd is going wild. Football Friday is here. We'll have a live report with all the action. Good evening, I'm Dave Jench.
And I'm Michelle Lee. We get to those stories in just a moment, but first, the buzz around the Northland, the return of superstar Bob Dylan.
People are already making plans to camp out at the ticket line. Jason Rice reports this concert will draw fans across generations.
It's taken a long time to land this one. Year after year, proposal after proposal, no Dylan. But this time, we hooked the big one.
It's probably the last chance we'll see him in Duluth. At least that's how I'm looking at it.
It's the first chance.
It's the first and probably the last.
Word of a Dylan homecoming performance quickly spread throughout the community, and faithful fans of many years are jumping at their chance to see the big celebrity with the Northland upbringing.
Just said, hey, Bob Dylan's coming. I said, oh, cool. How do we get tickets? So called my wife, and she said, we're going. I said, you bet.
And it won't just be baby boomers in the audience at the Bob Dylan concert. You can expect to see a lot of Generation Xers there as well. In fact, some of them are such big Dylan fans, they say they're going to camp out for tickets.
I've seen Dylan 2 years in a row now in Minnesota concerts, and his voice is a little shaky right now, you know, but it's just Bob Dylan, you know, you got to love the guys, so. And I'm definitely going to get tickets.
So just what will Dylan fans do to see the biggest show in town? If you have to, if it looks like it's going to be a big mad rush for tickets.
Camping overnight, definitely. I'll be out there. Got to get tickets for Dylan.
And you can expect those tickets to go quickly, all of them. And if you're looking for copies of his albums, better hurry. A feeding frenzy is already starting as Bob Dylan gets closer and closer to the most sentimental audience he's ever met. Jason Rice, News 6.
Tickets for the October 22nd concert go on sale Saturday, September 26th. Mark that down at 9 o'clock.
I am.
All seats are $35.
Unless I can talk Nate into getting me some while he's camping out.
You listening, Nate?
Oh, well.
Okay, news now. More than 100 Mintac mine workers could still be facing layoffs. A company spokesperson says a glut of cheap foreign steel is forcing the company to shut down its smallest production line on October 5th. The local steelworkers union rejected the company's alternative to layoffs, cutting back on overtime and using contract workers. Company officials say they will decide next week if the layoffs are necessary.
In the court watch tonight, a Boy Scout volunteer was charged today with third-degree possession of crack cocaine with intent to sell. 20-year-old Stephen Louis Garman was arrested Wednesday night outside the Damiano Center while in full Boy Scout uniform. If found guilty, this will be Garman's first felony conviction as an adult. Representatives from the Boy Scouts of America say Garman did not have contact with kids, and police have not indicated they are investigating him for dealing drugs to children. Garman has been suspended without pay from his job as a program specialist with the Scouts. Well, the St. Louis River offers anglers great views and the chance to catch some good-sized fish.
Well, a new report shows the river is still affected by mercury contamination decades after paper mills let it seep into the river.
Our Kim Kaiser talked to some of the people who like to fish on the river despite lingering pollution.
Steve Wanabo is still reliving his big catch from about a week ago, a hefty 25-pound northern.
Look at the size of that fish, man. St. Louis River.
This river offers many anglers a scenic place to fish.
That's what's another fun thing about a river. You don't know what's around the next corner, especially on a new river. If you try to go up and down a river, it's just pretty.
But reports of mercury contamination have some anglers concentrating more on catching the fish and not eating them.
The lakes I'll probably eat more fish out of. I won't eat anything out of here just yet. I haven't heard they tasted that great just yet.
Mercury released into the river as long as 40 years ago has collected in small reservoirs above dams like this one, the Thompson Dam. Sediment containing that mercury is still rushing over dams to pollute the river downstream.
That's according to a new report on the St. Louis River by Duluth scientist Gary Glass. The water became contaminated decades ago when paper mills like Potlatch and Cloquet used mercury in their pulp-making process, although they've stopped that years ago. Researchers were surprised when they found that sediment containing the mercury had not been covered over time by new, clean sediment. Now researchers are trying to clean the reservoirs. They are working to create a physical or chemical barrier to the sediment. That would mean a lot to area anglers.
It's a concern because what are our kids going to do? You know, like we have grandkids that fishing. What are they going to do if we don't clean up our lakes and rivers then?
Anglers hope that someday they will know if all their big catches taste as good as they look. In Duluth, Kim Kaiser, News 6.
Now, anyone interested in discussing ways to clean up our lakes and rivers can attend a public hearing tomorrow. It's scheduled for 10 at the Fitkers Brewery Complex. Well, coming up next, the 1989 edition of the Farmer's Almanac hit the stands this week.
Our own meteorologist, Keith Marler, took a sneak peek at this year's edition and will tell us about some very interesting forecasting secrets, including the use of farm animals. And George, do you have any of your own predictions for 1999?
I do, but I'm going to keep my counsel for at least about another month or so. Usually in November, we trot out the winter long-range forecast, although I will hint that the old farmer and I may have convergent thinking this year. Also, there's a bunch going on. We got the weekend forecast for you in just a minute. Also, how to pronounce that sneaky hurricane. All that in just a minute.
Keeping you in touch with today's news with Michelle Lee, Dave Jench, meteorologist George Kessler, and Tom Hansen Sports. You're watching News 6 at 6.
George's Garden is built and maintained by the London Road Garden Center. For more information, log on to our website at www.kbjr.com.
When it comes to dining at the Black Bear Grill, everyone's got a favorite. What's yours?
I love that all-you-can-eat buffet. There's a terrific selection to choose from every day, and you can't beat the price.
It's hard to choose, especially when everything is so fantastic. I guess that's why the steak and crab legs buffet is my favorite. I get the best of both worlds.
I love the T-Bone Tuesday special. It's a terrific meal with all the extras.
My favorite is the prime rib special on Wednesday. Delicious.
The Black Bear Grill. We've got your favorite.
They travel from all over, hoping to make back pain a distant memory. They're on a pilgrimage to the natural spring because the factory has authorized discounts on all Boyd natural spring mattresses. The contouring support of a flotation mattress with the look of a conventional inner spring. The patented fluid suspension and lumbar support make it the most comfortable bed ever. That's why there's a money-back guarantee and a lifetime warranty. Hurry in today.
The comfort of Boyd, only at Home Furniture.
We asked Catherine and David Martin to lend us their answering machine and try the US West voice messaging service. Catherine was thrilled because now she can talk on the phone and still get messages. David was delighted because now he can get messages without worrying about broken tapes or muffled messages. So it's no surprise that when we tried to return their old machine, they didn't seem a bit interested. US West. Life's better here.
There comes a point in your life when you outgrow those cute little pickups, at which time you might want to consider something a little more adult. A truck that can run rings around compacts. Dodge Dakota, with more room and more available towing, payload, and power. Magnum power. Dakota. It's time to put away the toys.
Brace yourself for NBC Premiere Week.
Bring 'em in.
Last year it was live. This year, ER will blow you away.
2,000, 3,000.
Let's go out now! On Homicide, last year's ambush becomes this year's vendetta. Emmy winner Law & Order's new DA takes no prisoners.
Arresting a 7-year-old kid for murder?
Come on, out of the way. 3 award-winning dramas with all new episodes.
No deals for anybody. Let's hang them all.
The premiere of Law & Order, ER and Homicide beginning NBC Wednesday.
George Kessler's weather is certified by the American Meteorological Society.
Nice day around the Northland. If you're a summer lover, for those of you expecting a little bit of fall, patience. It's just a neat little funnel system we have going on around the region. Tell you what, over at the airport, 81 degrees, down by Lake Superior. In fact, even out in the garden, the temperature is really beginning to cool off radically as winds have now swung in off the lake. A little late, but better late than never for those of us who like it cooler. Pressure is 29.80, humidity is 47%. Numbers across the region. This is what's going on. I don't even know where to start. There's just so much groovy stuff. We'd turn into the Weather Channel on you if they'd let me. To the north, there's a front. It's about like that. Ely on up to International Falls, on even into Thunder Bay, places like that. It's nice and cool. Down to the south that you begin to see a rapid warm-up as you head to the south. Let me get out of the way. It is 101 degrees. These temperatures were just updated. It's 101 down in Pierre, South Dakota. It's 95 over in Fargo. You get an idea of the kind of air masses we're talking about. While it's 95 in Fargo, it is 73 up in Devil's Lake. And whenever you have temperature contrasts like that, you begin to add a great deal of energy to the atmosphere. We had a weak cold front head through the region last night. Made it a little south of Hibbing, but it got the brakes put on. It's like somebody grabbed it by the tail and they gave it a flip like this because there's a center of a storm system way out here to the west. Well, that flip then began to jog that front back to the north. That's why we saw the warm air around the Northland, at least in the vast majority of it. But one end of that front has now gotten out over Lake Superior up here. Well, the cold air gets out over the lake and then it drains because there's nothing to stop it. And so now all the lakeshore communities are seeing the cold air come down from the north. If you haven't guessed, it is a wild evening in the old world weather. Nothing too terrible is happening, just a lot of air going this way and that way. Central part of the nation, I'll tell you, if I worked down there in Nebraska or Kansas, it'd be a piece of cake. But up here to the north, this is where the action is. Those bright white clouds are in the jet stream. There's the storm system, the center of it, right there in southern Saskatchewan. Well, actually, it's southern and central, right around Prince Albert. But anyway, there it is. It grabbed a hold of our front, and you can just barely see it right there. You see it going to the north. But that nose is out over Lake Superior, north of Thunder Bay. That's why some cool air is beginning to come down into Duluth and Superior. Well, this whole mass is going to get itself organized and head on to the south, and it's going to intersect in our region tomorrow. Speaking of things to our south, this is a tropical depression. It does not look like much, but it bears watching. It could be strengthening sometime during the day tomorrow. All right, here's our hurricane. Got a lot to talk about. This has now been cured as to how it is said. We got some help from Belgium. The man's name is George with an S, Picavet. He's from Antwerp in Belgium. It's a long story about how he found out about this. But anyway, you just say George, but throw a Z in the front, so it is George. Hurricane George is now turned into quite a ferocious little beast. We have to be very careful because now we're starting to see inhabited areas showing up on this map. It could go slamming into Leeward Islands over the course of the weekend, and that would be a very bad thing because it's expected that winds could be as high as 130 miles an hour. So that storm has now turned dangerous. A little bit closer to home, there are some showers beginning to run right along the southern tier in Canada. We'll watch that whole system begin to intersect with us. Up north, the cold air will be dominating. You'll probably see some very cool showers, International Falls and Northome. To the south, where the warm air will still be present, when this front slams into it, there may be some serious thunderstorms. We could see 48 degrees in rain in the far north and 88 degrees with severe thunderstorms in the south on Saturday. A lot of variables, so keep it tuned right here to News 6. Super Dave will have the latest. By Sunday, the chilly air begins to take over for the whole region. Here's forecast very quickly for tonight, staying mild. Temperatures most likely around 60 degrees. Not much of a low, I've got to tell you. Then for tomorrow, a watch for storms. Highs around 70 degrees. Again, cool far north, quite warm and muggy far south. Look ahead to Sunday shows those much cooler conditions taking over, highs only in the 50s. And an abbreviated look at the 5-day, that cool weather will stay with us into the early part of next week. Could mean widespread frost.
And turning leaves.
Lots going on.
All right, thanks, George.
Well, the 1999 edition of the Old Farmer's Almanac is now on sale.
This tradition-filled fact book has become a staple in many Northland homes over its 200-year history.
Meteorologist Keith Marler brings us his unique look at this year's edition.
The Old Farmer's Almanac, a staple for many households since 1792. That's over 200 years of everything from planning tables, amusing stories, astrology outlooks, and of course, long-term weather forecasts. You can pick up a current edition, thumb to your section of the country, and get a rough forecast up to a year in advance with, according to the publishers, an 80% accuracy rate.
How do they do this? Well, the regions of the country are divided large enough so that the resolution of the forecast is inherently fuzzy. Plus, they use a 206-year-old secret formula that editors won't reveal, although you can be guaranteed that it contains at least some climatological data and just a little bit of folklore.
A lot of weather folkisms are based in fact, and some of them can be at least reliable in the long term. Maybe they're not so accurate for doing the weather for tomorrow or the next day, but if you're looking ahead to something like the winter, you can give them a shot. One very appropriate one is hot summer, cold winter. And the basis there is that your winds are flowing out of the Canadian prairie provinces if the jet streams arranged in a particular way.
Here in the 1999 edition of the Old Farmer's Almanac on page 118 is the article, How to Predict the Weather Using a Pig Spleen. Now, depending on when the pig was slaughtered and the size of the spleen, you can predict the weather, supposedly, for up to 6 months in advance.
I attempted to speak with some tight-lipped farm animals to get their unique perspective.
Norman? Hey, Norman, does your spleen do anything, or maybe your second stomach? So, is it true that you guys can predict the weather just using your spleen? Or maybe here, just open your mouth and let me look down in there. See if I can maybe see your spleen so, you know, we don't have to go to the butcher shop. I warned you.
So it's off to visit a meat cutter to get the official response.
So did you know that a pig spleen could predict the weather?
Well, absolutely. Didn't you?
Well, actually, no. This is my first year to really learn about that. Have you looked at a pig spleen this year?
Well, every 6 months we look at the pig spleen and the family farm when we slaughter, and that's how you tell the weather for the upcoming year.
Did you see anything for this next 6 months?
The pig spleen is very thick, and it's going to be cold and snowy all winter long.
If you look at the Farmer's Almanac this year, they forecast bitter cold and normal snow. The pig spleen goes with bitter cold and a whole lot of snow, and most meteorologists look to La Nina to forecast this winter with below average temperatures and above average snowfall. So exactly how cold and snowy is it going to be this winter? Well, technically we're just going to have to wait and find out, although I can guarantee you it will be nowhere near as mild as the one we experienced this past season. For News 6, this is meteorologist Keith Marler.
I can never watch his forecast again without smiling, or at least thinking of a pig.
He warned them. Well, we'll be able to get a more precise winter preview this November when George presents his official winter forecast.
No pig spleens.
Well, maybe.
Well, still ahead. Okay. Still ahead, Football Friday. Let's check in with Tom Hansen down at Marshall High School. Tom.
Dave, Michelle, Football Friday is already off to a quick start. Right behind me, there's the Carleton Bulldogs celebrating their big win already. They knocked off Marshall this afternoon 27-6. We'll have more on this game. We'll have more on tonight's action. We'll let you know how Sammy Sosa did. All that and more when we come back.
It gives us the opportunity to give you the story behind the story.
Of course, what we're talking about is expanding the 10 o'clock news on News 6. It'll be News 6 at 10, and we're going to have 35 minutes of news. And we're going to be adding something. We're going to add another person to the mix, Mark Mallory.
The people of Northland care. They really care about their area.
News 6 at 10.
And it's going to give us a chance to get more in touch with our viewers and their needs and their wants.
All 98 stock must go and no reasonable offer refused during Benna Ford's 32nd annual tent sale. One big Benna liquidation location in Two Harbors. Our Superior store will be closed and all inventory from both Benna clearance centers shipped, driven, and trucked into Two Harbors for this sale only. Now through Monday, 5 days to sell, 500 new and used cars and trucks. Financing from 0.9%, bank reps will be working overtime to accept your immediate credit approval. Discover Benna Ford's 32nd annual tent sale at our Benna Ford Factory Authorized Clearance Center, Two Harbors.
I've worked this farm for 40 years, and now my son does too. It's a good, honest way to make a living. I saw in the paper that Norm Coleman said that saving the Minnesota family farm in the new global economy doesn't make sense. If you ask me, Norm Coleman doesn't make sense. I know what a good crop looks like, what hard work feels like, and I know that Norm Coleman is wrong to write off the family farm. After all, even in his global economy, people have to eat.
There comes a point in your life when you outgrow those cute little pickups, at which time you might want to consider something a little more adult. A truck that can run rings around compacts. Dodge Dakota, with more room and more available towing, payload, and power. Magnum power. Dakota. It's time to put away the toys.
And now, sports with Tom Hansen.
Football Friday gets an early start today as Marshall hosts Carleton.
Our Tom Hansen is at the game with tonight's sports. Tom.
Well, I am joined by a few of the Carleton Bulldogs here. Bulldogs beat Marshall by a final score of 27-6. Let's go right into the highlights here this afternoon at this ball game. Polar League South matchup between these two teams, and there's the head coaches for each club. Polar League South in the first, quarterback Carleton's quarterback Sam Persaw goes to his right, finds Joe Bain for the first score of the game. Later in the first, Carleton Sam Persaw on the quarterback option. He keeps it himself, picks up some big yardage inside the Toppers' 5-yard line. There's the run there by Persaw. Travis Past punched it in for the Bulldogs. After that, they were up by 2 touchdowns. Marshall scored their first touchdown off a Carleton miscue. The punter couldn't handle the high snap. Marshall recovers. Grant Schulander scores for the Toppers from 4 yards out. 20-6 Carleton at the half. Bulldogs score again late in this ball game, and they win it 27-6, the final score. So Football Friday is off and running. Here's a peek at some of the other games tonight. We'll have scores and highlights tonight on News 6 at 10. Hermantown's home game is at Proctor. The Rails will be seeking some revenge, having lost to them twice last year.
Oh, it's obviously gonna be a physical ball game, and there's a lot of respect and pride and tradition that goes along with the Hermantown Proctor matchup, and it's going to be one of those games where whoever makes the least amount of mistakes and has the ball last is going to win that ball game.
We certainly want to seek a little bit of revenge from last season because they beat us twice last season, and of course in the section finals defeated us 10-0. So our kids are real hungry as far as getting back another chance at them. Well, I think we have to go what we do best, and that's we're going to open up a little bit with the option on them. Our quarterback, Chris Sums, has got some speed, and we're hoping to do that. And we just got to do what we do best.
UMD officially opened and dedicated the new Jamar Athletic Academic Study Center today. Walker Jamar Jr. was on hand to unveil the plaque along with UMD Chancellor Catherine Martin. The Jamar Corporation helped to fund the $55,000 facility. The UMD football season opens up tomorrow against Eau Claire.
As far as the Jamar Company is concerned, we're very happy to be involved today, and we're very happy to have been able to assist in this.
One of the reasons that we have the quality athletic program that we do is we refer to our student athletes as student athletes. And we're very grateful to the coaches' support of the concept of a student athlete.
The Vikings host Detroit this Sunday at noon. We'll have that game right here on News 6. The Vikings 2-0, the Lions 0-2. Somehow the Vikings will have to contain Barry Sanders. Randall Cunningham will be the Viking starter. He saw action against them last year when Brad Johnson was out. Charlie Batch will get the start for Detroit over Scott Mitchell.
We just mentioned Luther. I think Big Luther gets in on it.
Charlie Batch is a first-year player, talented player out of Eastern Michigan, not as well known as some of the other quarterbacks that went in the draft last year, but good arm, good athlete, can scramble, nice long ball, very good touch on his throws. Most people would probably, if you had a chance to see him just in the preseason games.
The decision, I'll address it, was a very difficult one. It really was, and the main reason that it was so difficult was because I've always admired greatly how hard and how thorough Scott Mitchell prepares.
Now the Packers will be on the road. They'll take on Cincinnati. Today they announced Raymond Harris will be the starter for the injured Dorsey Levens in that ballgame. Reggie White was the NFC Defensive Player this week for the Packers for their win over Tampa Bay.
The problem they're going to present is with their receivers, and Corey Dillon runs well. I think they can present some problems there if we let them. O'Donnell hadn't played bad, so it's going to be important this week to do exactly what we did last week.
And the chase for 64 is still on. Sammy Sosa in action this afternoon against Cincinnati. He went homerless. Mark McGuire faced the Milwaukee Brewers tonight at County Stadium. We'll have highlights of that game on News 6 at 10. Also this weekend, the Chequamegon Fat Tire Festival, very popular event. 2,500 racers will be taking part. Again, the final score here, Carleton 27, Marshall 6. And my ears are still ringing from the Bulldogs when they jumped in here before the sports started. Again, 27-6, Carleton over Marshall. Dave, Michelle.
All right, thank you very much, Tom. Stick around, everyone. We're going to be right back.
Do you find yourself spending a lot of free time wondering about garage doors and openers? Who invented them? Who's built and installed more than anyone? And who would you call if you needed one?
Get a life.
The genuine, the original overhead door. What else do you need to know?
The best thing about being governor is you can really help people. You can really make a difference.
Tommy Thompson.
One day, this woman who really had a tough life and was in a very abusive situation.
I got up here and I ran into some bad luck.
Her husband left her and indicated to her that she could never do anything except be on welfare.
So it put me in the welfare program.
And we started W-2, which requires her to apply for a job.
I didn't really have much skill, so I wasn't really thinking really great about myself.
But she did it.
And I learned some really general clerical skills there.
3 or 4 promotions.
I feel good about myself, and I'm very motivated.
And she pulled out her wallet and she says, look at this. She says, I even have a business card.
That's a plus right there.
Blossom. That, to me, is what welfare reform is all about.
If it hadn't been for Governor Tommy Thompson, I would not be where I am today.
Tommy Thompson and Wisconsin. A winning team leading us forward.
Who's that, Grandma?
That would have been your great-uncle Floyd. About 65 years ago, he was playing hide-and-seek with his friends. And they never found him.
If you're gonna play to win,
Nobody found me!
play to win. If you're gonna have roast beef, have roast beef. Hardee's tender roast beef, specially seasoned, oven roasted, fresh sliced to order.
If you're gonna go, go all out.
Oh, George has one last look at our forecast.
It's going to remain calm tonight. I will give you no guarantees for tomorrow. Take a look. Temperatures down there right around 60 degrees. It's going to be a warm evening, except right around the lake where some cool air is beginning to head south. Watch out for storms tomorrow. It could be a cold rain right along the Canadian border, certainly for our Canadian friends who are watching. You're not going to see the big heat and humidity, but down to the south, especially northwestern Wisconsin, Washburn, Burnett County, be careful. Those storms during the afternoon could be on the nasty side. And looking ahead to Sunday, much cooler for everyone, highs in the 50s.
All right, thank you very much, George. Mark Mallory joins us now with a look at what's coming up tonight on News 6 at 10.
Well, Dave and Michelle, after a tornado ripped apart a Minnesota town, one church is going the extra mile to rebuild. Tonight at 10, we'll take you to a church in St. Peter that was pummeled by last year's massive tornado. After experiencing money problems, these church members are going above and beyond to raise money for the church. We'll have this touching story tonight on News 6 at 10.
And we have one final note for you tonight. This will be the last time I anchor this newscast. Starting Monday, Mark Mallory will sit down here with Michelle as co-anchor, just as he already does at 5 and 10. Now, it's been a great honor to be a part of this on-air team for what's become the most watched newscast here in the Northland. I'm happily turning over the duties to Mark and Michelle so I can concentrate on being news director. You might say that's my real job. So you guys, on Monday, it's yours. I'll be watching.
Okay. Thank you, Dave.
And thank you for joining us on News 6 at 6.
We'll keep you in touch with 35 minutes of news, weather, and sports tonight on News 6 at 10.
Men's wardrobe provided by Mainstream Fashions for Men, located in the heart of downtown Duluth.
Dateline Friday, uncover the mystery of the world's biggest and most elusive killer snake and follow the man brave enough to go in search of the anaconda. I'm Stone Phillips. Join me for Dateline at 8, 7 Central, NBC Friday.
If the full extent of your interior decorating knowledge is limited to red and blue plaids don't work well with yellow and green stripes, maybe it's time for Schneiderman's Furniture. Our team of talented professionals will help you find the look you want at a price you can afford. Decorating sense? Forget about it. All you need to know is how to get here. Got furniture?
It's evening in Lincoln Junction, and the lights are going on. Because 2 generations ago, your friends and neighbors built an electric co-op. Since then, we've kept the power flowing steadily to you and your growing community. Now, local co-ops are joining other co-ops to form a nationwide alliance, Touchstone Energy, to ensure state-of-the-art technology at an affordable price. It's the power of human connections. We are the Touchstone Energy partners of Minnesota and Wisconsin.
Come to Hancock Fabric's incredible super sale. For 3 big days, save 20 to 50% on all decorator fabrics, 30% on decorator rods and accessories, and 33% on all tapestry fabrics. Fleece solids are just $5.99 a yard. Fleece prints just $6.99 a yard. Save 30% on all quilting notions and 30% on So Perfect pillow forms. Pay just $1 for 6 skeins of DMC floss. Plus all McCall's patterns are just $1.99. Don't miss the incredible store-wide savings now through Saturday at all Hancock Fabric stores.
Arrivederci or bonjour, however you say it. You're in for the trip of a lifetime.
I hope I remember to pack my beret.
Any way you spin it, it's going to be a whirlwind week of fun and excitement on Wheel of Fortune's French-Italian Riviera Week.
Tonight on News 6.
Hang on to your senses for the new chocolate rock from Dairy Queen. Your ears buzz when you crack through that chocolate shell. Your nose tingles over hot fudge surrounding that DQ soft serve. Your tongue does the tango. It's cold, it's hot, it's crunchy with toasted almonds. Your eyes spin when they see more hot fudge and toasted almonds. And when you scoop up the last of this treat, you realize you want another. The chocolate rock treat. Hurry in and get one for just $1.99 only from Dairy Queen. It's what your senses crave.
Stadium, and it's Pittsburgh week on Wheel of Fortune!
And now, from the Benedum Center for the Performing Arts, here are the stars of our show, Pat Sajak and Vanna White.
Hey, this is it. This is it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, it was nothing. Thank you, Charlie. Thanks, everybody. Hi, gang. How are you? Oh, Vanna, this is our last night in Pittsburgh. We're not going. We're staying here. We're going to do the show here forever. That's it. I'm chaining myself to the set.